Oh boy. Okay, well, this is weird. Anyways, hi guys. Didn't see it come in. I figured I would take the time to talk about this because, you know, our current focus banner is based around the whole, you know, new Echoes game, Shadows of Valentia, which is coming out, I believe, on the 20th in April in Japan, and then, of course, I think like the 19th of May in the US and in Europe. So, yeah, you know, that's cool and all that, but one thing that people keep asking is, like, one, where's Silica, and two, which one of these units is the best that you can get out of it? And while I've made jokes about it before, I was like, man, I really, really want Alm, and I really want him, and he's great, and he's cool. I'll just be pretty honest here. He's okay. He's not the best unit you can get out of there. In fact, a lot of these units are mildly alright. They're, you know, they're not the most amazing units you can get out of a summon pool, but then again, honestly, a lot of the really good units right now are not focused, and you're not going to be able to get them easily, so I just figured I would inform you to that. But still, nonetheless, there are a few, you know, hitches when it comes down to it, and if I really wanted to talk about the best unit you can get right now in the game with the summoning pool would actually be Lukas here. Now, just so we're clear, my Lukas is not built the best. His IVs are, I think, like HP minus and speed plus, not the best, but I mean, at least it doesn't touch his vital stat, and I guess I would, you know, probably be worth mentioning what that is. So, when it comes down to Lukas here, there is one stat you need to really look at, and that is his defense. Lukas has some of the most, remarkable defense stats of any infantry unit. Not only that, but with Fortress Defense, which is a new passive that is unique to him, it means that he's going to be getting a lot more. Of course, at the exchange of attack, but the thing about this is you really need to take a few things into account when it comes down to it. One, he comes with a Killer Lance at the start when you get him, so if you do get him, that's a nice thing to have. It accelerates a special trigger, and that means that he can definitely take advantage of a few things. And since we're talking about his defense, and again, this is a level 31 Lukas, just so we're clear, he's not max rank. I believe when, and I mean, if you get defensive IVs on him, if you get a defense IV Lukas, you're even more, you're going to do a lot better. Mine, again, not the best IVs, but then again, that's my luck. Still, nonetheless, defense is something that he is really strong at, and this is something you're going to want to build on in several ways. So I'm going to give you some suggestions when it comes down to builds. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do, and I'm going to show you exactly what I think would really work with him in case you don't want to go with my build too much, okay? Alright, so, first off and foremost, again, defense is his main stat. Not only that, Fortress Defense is a fantastic skill for him. It basically means he can soak up damage like a sponge, and God, he really can. He can take some of the hardest hits I've seen. He doesn't have the movement the movement penalties that a much more armored unit does. So this is, I would like to probably say that he's probably the tankiest infantry unit to date, and that's saying a lot. If you manage to get him with defense IVs, I believe he caps out with Fortress Defense at about 50, which is obscene and crazy, and we're going to talk about how this ties in with several of his abilities, okay? So, first off and foremost, keep Killer Lance for now. This is my build. I'm going to give you a few ideas, okay? So, one of these things is not like the other. One of these is not the ability that he has when he starts. That was not as catchy as I thought it was going to be. Still, nonetheless. So here are some of the ideas that you can go off of. So, Bonfire, Glowing Embers, and Ignis are all the abilities that basically, when they trigger, they will boost his damage based on the defense value that he has. And, of course, Glowing Ember and Bonfire, they do 50%. Bonfire is a bit quicker, so, you know, it's basically if you want to really do a lot of damage with Lukas here, you would definitely want to, say, equip him with Bonfire, or even more, if you happen to have Henry around, or, I mean, I guess Female Robin, if you really do have her, and you're not really using her, you could probably do this as well. But Ignis is an even better advantage. It gives 80% of the unit's defense as the attack modifier, meaning that on top of the damage he's going to be doing, he's going to be doing 80% of it, which at 50 is going to be nearly 30 or 40, I believe. I forget exactly the, the math there, but it's going to hurt quite a bit. Not only that, but of course with the defense, it means that melee units, archers, are going to do a lot less. Again, though, be wary of mages, tome users, and dragons. They will probably not be so great against him. I'm personally going to go with quick riposte, whatever, riposta. I could really go for some spaghetti right now. But still, nonetheless, quick riposte. Because this is a really nice ability for tanky units like him. As you level it up, it means that he will basically, if he gets attacked, he will follow up right away. It won't be too much of a wait if he has the ability to, get in there and get it. If he gets attacked, he will fight it off pretty quickly, and usually destroy his enemies. Hopefully, especially if you get this up to later skills. The only problem though is that quick riposte is a little bit harder to get, I believe. Of all characters that I really don't want to talk about, Tsubaki, he has it. But only at 5 stars. There's also a few other ones. Klein, I believe, has it at 5 stars. It's not exactly an easy ability to get. I've also, just for me, when it comes down to him as a unit, people like to give him sort of, his C slot could be something that could either buff or debuff. For this, he's actually replacing my Effie in some ways. And my Effie already has a debuff, a threaten skill. So for this, I decided I was going to be doing something different. And I'm going to be using Hawkeye here because he has potential. I believe I still have a Hawkeye. I have quite a few of them, I think. Yes, I do. Alright, so when it comes to abilities, and abilities that you would probably want to bring along with him, this is what my idea is. Because he's such a tanky, character, it may not be a bad idea. Oh, he has Growing Light and Death Blow. Interesting. Threaten Attack. That's my idea. Because with Threaten Attack, it means not only can he stay in there a bit more, but when he's around the enemies in general, he will be hammering them with a debuff. That means that they won't be doing as much damage to him, which is already quite a little, quite a bit, marginalized because of his defense. So, in general, I think Threaten Attack is a good idea, at least for me. The things that I would prioritize if you're really going to try and get him up there and you can't get, the SP right away, I would suggest, at least with this build, when it comes down to it, I would suggest potentially instead prioritizing Ignis, or if you want the faster one, Bonfire. I'm going with Ignis because Ignis just feels a lot more, Bonfire's already, well, glowing embers is already kind of, triggering quite often. So naturally, having Ignis on him means he's going to do a hell of a lot more damage. I said a swear, I'm sorry. And, it's a lot better than Sacred Cowl and a lot of things. But outside of that, Fortress Defense is definitely something you're going to want to get up if you're going to go with this route. You can worry about Quick Riposte and Threaten Attack a little bit later. Grind those up when you can with SP. Hopefully, maybe sooner or later, they'll add a new way to get it. Outside of that, if people really want to go with a different build, and this is one that I've considered talking about, people like going with Fury, but I'll just be pretty honest, I don't know if that's a good idea because while, it does buff his attack and things like that, it's really up to you if you want to do it. So here's my strategy if you decide to go with Fury, and you decide to change it around a bit. Now, a few of these will be optional, a few of these are probably insane ideas, but of course, A-Slot will, instead of Fortress Defense, will be Fury, which again, Fury, when you use it at max rank, is going to give you 3 on every of these stats. Well, not, every of these stats that are actually in battle outside of health and, I believe, SP. Yeah, because that's something. But outside of those, it's going to buff them by 3, which means that he's going to have more defense, not as much as Fortress Defense, but it also means that he's going to get more speed, more attack, and more resistance, which is not a bad idea. Again, stay away from mages. Still, nonetheless, when you get that, it's great. It means that he's going to be hitting harder, he's going to be defending a lot more, not as much as with Fortress Defense, but it does mean that he has the attack to back it up a bit more. Still, that means he can still, kind of, I would still, with an the special skill here, I would still go with, Ignis, Glowing Ember, Bonfire, whichever you're going for. And, you know, people have been like, okay, well then what do you do with this? Replace Quick Riposte with Renewal, which comes from Faye. She's the easiest to get it from. And with the C slot, you can really go with whatever you want. That's just my suggestion when it comes down to it. Again, and, you know, I've heard people have been like, oh, hey, well, why not, you know, why don't you just, you know, replace the Killer Lance with something if you really, really wanted to, and for some strange reason, I've seen it suggested, you could potentially be like, hey, Xander, I see you have a nice carrot there, let me just swap that out, and there you go. Now you have more health regen with the Renewal, which triggers every 2 turns. That's just if you really want to build a Fury unit. I personally don't think he needs Fury, potentially, because with the triggering of Bonfire or Ignis fairly consistently, not only that, but, you know, he has a bit more speed, not as much as, you know, I would like him to have, and at least mine does have a lot more speed. At least I think his is actually, yeah, his is decent enough on mine. I'm fairly sure mine has speed IVs, though. So, you know, he'll have a decent enough speed. He'll be able to double at least the heavier units that might attack him and still take some hits. In general, Lukas is probably one of the better units that you can get out of here because he has the defense to back it up. He could potentially be he could potentially be a lot like Effie in a way, but, you know, without the movement penalties. You could potentially build him in such a way that he will do so much damage, at least with Ignis, that, you know, your enemies will flee in terror at it. But it does require a bit of charge up with his abilities. If you're really going for a unit, I strongly, strongly suggest Lukas here. He's fantastic in a lot of ways. As for a command skill, I mean, he doesn't have the issues that a lot of the other characters do. You could potentially just give him something like Pivot, or, you know, something that will help your team out in moving around. It's really up to you there. I mean, if you can make him move a little bit more, it's not a bad idea. Just saying. But right now, focus when you build him on trying to give him Bonfire or Ignis. Again, Bonfire comes from certain characters. The easiest one that I can think of, as he shows up quite often, at least for me, is probably Robin, male Robin, because he has Bonfire right from the get-go. And, of course, if you really wanted to, I don't think I have a lower tier... I mean, I don't think I have a higher tier Henry, but, I mean, he does have Ignis at 4 stars if you decide to use him. He's easy enough to level up, and Ignis is very, very nice on him. And that's pretty much all I have to say about Lukas right now. I haven't got the chance to try out Claire too much, you know, from an actual, like, usage point of view. Looking at her stats, you know, maybe if I get some of the other characters, I'll be able to give you a better idea. Usually when I look at stats and things like that, I try to make builds around that, but it's kind of hard for me, myself, to really do that. But Lukas is meant to be this huge, tanky infantry unit, which is really strange, but very strong if you can give him Bonfire or Ignis, and then, like, tie in, like, Quick Riposte or something in there, so, you know, it's easy enough. That's just what I think. Hit and Run's a very strange ability. I'm not really sure how that'll work out. Claire is a very fascinating character, but I'm not sure how you're going to use her. And again, I don't have Faye or Elm. I'm going to try and get them, and hopefully I'll have a better idea, at least. Personally, I think this build for Lukas is great. Just, again, keep him away from mages. And, again, when it comes to C-slots, build what you want. If you need a buffer, he can be a potentially good buffer. And if you need someone to threaten or do more damage, it's always a good idea. Just go with what you need. Spurs, Hones, Threatens, whatever you need. So anyways, guys, that's my little review of Lukas. Hope you guys are, you know, having a great time. I'll catch you all later.